India's journey to freedom. Wow. It wasn't just a single event, was it? It was this long, incredibly complex journey. We're about to walk through the key moments that didn't just transform a subcontinent, but really, they helped reshape the entire modern world.
So, if you've ever tried to study this period, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's so easy to just get buried in a sea of dates, names, and different acts. It feels like this endless list you have to memorize, right? But what if we looked at it a totally different way?
Yeah, instead of just memorizing a bunch of facts, let's find the story. Let's connect the dots. We're going to follow the chain of cause and effect, the actions and the reactions that built up this incredible, powerful momentum toward freedom. So here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the big shift from company to crown. Then we'll watch the first sparks of the nationalist awakening. We'll get into the complexities of division and unity before diving headfirst into the Gandhian era. Then it's the final push for freedom, and we'll wrap it all up by seeing how this fit into a new world order. Okay, so our story begins, believe it or not with a government, but with a corporation, the East India Company. And as it tightened its grip on India, that commercial power grab eventually lit the fuse for a massive backlash that changed absolutely everything. Now, you could start in a few places, but the Battle of Buxar is really our crucial starting point. This is the moment the East India Company's whole role transforms from just trade to actual full-on administrative rule. This wasn't about business anymore. This was about control. The huge revolt of 1857 didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The year 1856 was like a pressure cooker. You had policies like the doctrine of lapse, which basically felt like a massive land grab. Royal titles were being chipped away. New army rules were violating religious beliefs. And other recent uprisings had shown that resistance was possible. The whole situation was just a tinderbox waiting for a spark. So after that revolt was put down, the Government of India Act of 1858 completely flipped the script. The East India Company, its rule was over. Finished. From now on, India would be governed directly by the British Crown, kicking off a whole new era of colonial administration. This new setup, this direct rule, it sparked a totally different kind of response. The fight wasn't just about spontaneous rebellions anymore. No, it was starting to become a slow, methodical, organized national movement. So over the next couple of decades, you start to see these organized political groups pop up. First, smaller regional associations, all trying to advocate for Indian interests. And this all builds up to 1885, when a major national platform is born, the Indian National Congress. For the first time, it brought all these different voices together. Okay, now we're getting into a period that is super complex. It was really defined by that classic divide and rule strategy from the British. But, and this is what's so fascinating, it also led to this surprising, really historic moment of unity among Indian leaders. So check this out. In 1905, Lord Curzon partitions Bengal. Most people saw this as a clear attempt to split the nationalist movement right down religious lines. The very next year, the Muslim League is formed. But then, just a decade later, you get the Lucknow Pact of 1916, where these two groups actually find common ground. They created a unified front to demand more self-rule. Pretty incredible. The political board was set, but the way the game was played was about to change dramatically. The arrival of one key person from South Africa was going to transform the independence movement from a thing for political elites into a genuine nationwide mass movement. That's right. In 1915, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi comes back to India, and he brought with him this powerful new philosophy of resistance he developed in South Africa, satyagraha, or nonviolent civil disobedience. His return really marks the beginning of a whole new phase, one that would bring millions of ordinary people into the struggle. And just look at how quickly things escalate from here. It's wild. First, the repressive Rowlatt Act is passed, which sparks outrage. Then, just a month later, you have the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. In response, Gandhi launches the massive non-cooperation movement, but then he calls it off after a single violent incident, which just shows how serious he was about nonviolence. All right, as we get into the final decades of the struggle, the goal itself starts to shift. The demands aren't just for reform anymore. They become a clear, loud call for complete independence. And the actions? They get a whole lot more decisive. Protests against the all-British Simon Commission in 1928 lead to the tragic death of the nationalist leader Lala Lajpat Rai, which just galvanized the entire movement.
By the very next year, at the Lahore Congress session, the demand shifted in a big way, from just more rights to Purna Swaraj, complete and total independence.
So by 1940, things are getting even more complicated with the demand for a separate nation of Pakistan. Then, in 1942, the British Cripps mission shows up, but its proposals just don't cut it. It becomes obvious that negotiations are at a dead end, and that leads directly to the Quit India Resolution, basically a final ultimatum: get out. And this resolution, it perfectly captured that new, uncompromising mood. Gandhi gave the famous call to the entire nation: do or die. It was a declaration that this time, there was absolutely no turning back. Now, at the very same time, you have another major leader, Subhas Chandra Bose, leading this whole parallel effort from outside India. After he split from the Congress leadership, he went his own way, setting up a provisional government in Singapore and organizing the Indian National Army. His slogans were so powerful, they still give you chills today. Okay, let's zoom out one last time here, because India's freedom struggle wasn't happening in a vacuum. The end of World War II created this entirely new global environment that really hit the fast-forward button on the end of colonialism everywhere. Think about it. The sheer devastation of World War II, ending with the atomic bombs, just completely changed the global balance of power. The old European colonial powers, like Britain, were economically wiped out. And frankly, the whole idea of empire was starting to crumble. And right out of the ashes of that war, a new institution is born: the United Nations. Formed in October 1945, its whole charter was built around ideas like self-determination. This created a global stage that was perfectly set for the coming wave of decolonization, with India's independence as one of its most important acts. I mean, from a corporate takeover all the way to a nation's birth, this whole journey teaches us so much about power, resistance, and the huge, huge cost of freedom. Which really leaves us with one final thought. How do the echoes of this story, both its amazing triumphs of unity and its heartbreaking tragedies of division, how do they continue to shape our world right now?